Hi, everyone. This is Joseph Schooland, account manager here at Populi. It is at the hour, and so we're going to start. This is our intro to admissions group training. So maybe you're already familiar with admissions and you kind of just want a refresher. Maybe you're totally brand new and this is exciting and you're going to start getting things working. But either way, we're going to go. I just want to let you know a couple things. If you already know me, good that you're looking at me. I wish I could see you. I'm sure we'll meet and talk in other avenues where we do our own webinars and so on. If you don't know who I am, that's okay. Maybe you have worked with your account manager, who is Nick Holloway. We have two account managers here, myself and Nick Holloway. And then of course we have a full support team. And so maybe you know some folks on there. We like to keep certain people kind of on the front lines of our support team, even though we're kind of a couple lines deep in case we need it. But that way you're probably getting to know those frontline people. You're probably seeing similar names over and over again. And we just love to get to know you and hope you're enjoying getting to know us. Quick housekeeping. I have a second screen right over here. And it's got the Q&A box right up for me to see and look at. So if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A box. If one comes through the chat, I'll try and grab it, but I for some reason miss those sometimes. And it's much easier for me to process the Q&A questions because I can actually check off that I've answered them and so on. So if you have a question, throw it in the Q&A. All right. I'm going to go ahead and kill my video and I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. Okay, everyone, you should see my screen. Schooland.populyweb.com is the name of this fake school. And we've got your college could be here. You can throw something in the question box if that's not what you're seeing, but hopefully we're all seeing the right thing. Let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to assume that you know basic things about Populi already, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. I know that probably a lot of you already know this. Maybe you've already gotten help before, but maybe this is a desperate cry for help because you don't know how to get help, and this is the only thing you know how to do. I just want to stop for those people and let you know there are lots of ways to get help in Populi, and I just want to point a few of those out. First off, if you see the help button on the top right, we'll click on that. All right. If you're the type who likes to research on your own, then you can definitely just click search the knowledge base right here. If you want to reach out to our support team, you can click open a support request. You can also give us a call at 877, the number 4 and the word Populi. 8774-POPULI. Hopefully you just memorize that. If not, it's easy to find on our main website and even inside the knowledge base, and I'll show you where that is. Whenever you open a support request, you can view your requests here. You can make a feature request if you have an idea for us, and you can interact with our user forum. This is all of our other clients. We have 520 clients, mainly across the US and Canada, but also some international clients. And you can interact with them and see how they use Populi and ask them questions if you want. One quick note on the support. This isn't just for you on this call. This is for all your staff and faculty. We give email and phone support to all your staff and faculty. And then we give email support to your students. And our hours are Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. And our support people love what they do and they like working for Populi. And so hopefully that comes through in their voice. Hopefully you hear that they're enjoying serving you. Next up, I want to show you one other thing you can do, and that is go to our YouTube channel. You can see different videos here. This is what we want. This is what I want. This is our YouTube channel, and you can see all kinds of things here. Interviews, new features, live trainings like these are going to go up on the YouTube channel. You can click on videos here and dig in and see different ones. I do a lot of them. Isaac does some of them. Adam's in some of them. So we have a number of our people here you might get to know, and you can check those out. All right, one last thing. You can reach out to your account manager and schedule a training webinar like this, but just for you and them. So it's one-on-one. We got the webinar open, and you can get help just talking with them. Support is a great way. If you've got a question, reach out to support. call them or email them. If this is bigger than a question, it's kind of like, boy, we've never used admissions before. I watched the overview, not really sure how to apply it directly to our school because we have some different things we do. And I don't know where to start. That's a great thing to start with your account manager with, because they can do the webinar with you and we can walk over everything, talk about the overview stuff, schedule 30 minutes, schedule an hour, whatever you need. If you've already started your admissions thing though, and you're like, why won't this field work? How come I can't set it up how I want? How come it's not doing what it's supposed to do? Support's great for that, because you can just get that answer right away and get back to work. So we have different ways of helping you, and hopefully they're really help you be as efficient as possible. All right, knowledge base. I want to point out a few articles here. You probably found the promoted articles to get to this training right here, admissions. Some other ones, getting started with your school's new Populi site. These are all our tutorials for all the sections. That's a really good one to know about. If you have someone who has trouble logging in, you can send them this article. A few others. Here's the how to contact us and what we can do for you. That's got our hours and phone number. I told you you could find our phone number back if you needed it. If you forgot the 877, the number 4 and the word Populi. And let's get started with today. We're going to go to admissions. And so looking through all these bubbles, sections, we've got admissions. Let's click on that one and go for it. A lot of different stuff here, but we're going to just stick to the getting started overview. Now, as you click on each one of these articles, it's going to guide you through the basic information for that step, or it might link away to other things, like if it can't quite cover in detail that step, then it might link to some other articles that will go deeper into certain aspects. So you might not get all the information here. This is just like the place to start, the place where you can really scan through and not get too bogged down in the details. And then if you need some details, look for those links to other articles that really go a lot deeper. That's all I'm going to do for Help System. Let's get into our actual school, but I'm going to go through these steps just visually. So step 1, get your admission staff set up with the right user roles. Permissions in Populi are divided up by role. And that depends on what you see. That determines everything you see. Now I've got every single role, so I can see everything. I can see financial, I can see academics, I can see admissions, all the stuff, in between. If you want to talk about admissions, we have 2 roles for that. We have admissions admin and then just regular admissions. What's the difference between those two? If we go to admissions, I'll show you. Admissions admin sees everything in admissions plus this settings button. And the settings button is where you're going to set everything up. In fact, we're going to look at that in just a sec. And then the second role is just regular admissions. And regular admissions has everything in admissions except for the settings button. So your regular admission staff are not going to be able to do all the setup, but they're going to be able to process the applications, inquiries, forms, leads, all that stuff that comes in without actually changing the application form. They can just process ones that have come in. So that's the difference. Actually, before I get too deep into this, you know what I want to do? I want to give you a quick overview of some of the ins and outs of admissions. I think it will be good to start with the end in mind, and then I'll show you all the setup to get to that end. So let's start off. What are these terms? In Populi, these terms are hard-coded. You don't customize them yourself. So if you're going to use Populi, you have to get used to calling all the admissions folks you're working with leads, because that's what we call them. There are 7 different types of leads. So 7 different statuses for a lead. First off is prospect. A lot of these are pretty smart, the statuses. So they will attach themselves to people depending on certain actions that take place. So for example, if I click add a lead right here, Populi will automatically give it the status prospect. It's assuming that I'm adding someone cold, adding a cold prospect. Now I can change that if I want really easily, but probably most of the time it's going to be prospect. So that's a little bit of a time saver for you. If someone comes in through your website as an inquiry, then it will automatically get the status inquiry. Or if they already were a prospect, they'll get changed to inquiry. When they start an application, either through your website or if you send them the link, then they'll get changed to application started. Once they complete, they'll get changed to this one. Once you accept them, they'll get changed to accepted. Once they reach out back to you and say, yes, thank you for accepting me, I'm coming to your school, you can go and manually switch this to confirmed. And then finally, you can, this will automatically change to enrolled. There's some settings for this one, for the enrolled one. So you have to have those turned on right, because not all schools like that to automatically happen. So if you want that to automatically happen and you don't know why it's not doing that right now, you can let me know and we can go over those settings. And maybe I'll try and get to it if we have time anyways. But because this is all one system, we've got the academics here too. Populi knows when they've been registered and enrolled in a course, and so we'll automatically switch to that. So this is the overview. We're kind of moving them through here. And then let me run through. Let's look at an inquiry form real quick. Actually, let's just go straight to the application form. And we're not going to look at setup. We'll look at that in a minute. But Populi gives you an embed code. And what this does is it's something you can copy and paste and give to your webmaster so that they can put it into their website. And it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. If you have a webmaster who's really into design, we have some extra special features down here called custom CSS. And so they can put a bunch of coding language, HTML, CSS. I mean, they really have to have a good grasp of all this to do it, but they can put that in there so that the fonts and boxes and whatever match your website. The fonts and boxes we use are pretty just basic and normal, so it's not like it's going to stand out. But if you have someone who's really into design and likes to tweak those little things, you can definitely do that. So copy and paste that, give it to your webmaster. This is what it looks like not embedded in your website, floating in white space here. And I just had a daughter. Her name is Brigitte. And so I'm going to put her in as an applicant. She's only, let's see, she'll be 3 months old in a couple days. And we'll pretend that she owns the Brigitte.com domain. So this is the form that's on your website, and all it's asking for is name and email, really. She could also put in her phone number. She could opt in to have it be used for text messaging. She can choose a program, and I'll show you how to turn this on or off. You don't have to have it on. You can have a default program just behind the scenes here. And she can also choose an entrance term. And again, you don't have to have this one on. There could be a default entrance term, just the next term coming up, or you can let her choose. And then once Brigitte hits submit, she's taken to your application. If you've uploaded your logo to Populi, we will put that here. We'll put your school name here. We'll put the name of the application here. So actually think about when you're naming your application, this is going to show up for folks. So don't, name it, vanilla ice cream application or something like that. Now the applicant can click this button to ask a question. They put this in, hit submit, it gets sent to your admissions team. And then from here on down is where you have built and customized your application. We're going to get into how to do this, but I just want to show you what it looks like. You can put headings throughout, you can put text throughout, different types of fields. Here they can upload a file, 500-word essay. Now you are editing all this text. You're creating it yourself. So you don't have to do 500-word essay. You can do anything you want. You could do immunization record, and they just can upload that file. So what I'm asking you to do is use your imagination. You can do whatever you want with this, and so think about how it's going to apply to your school. You can do tasks. Here I've completed a task because I can't really send my code, my score, my SAT or ACT score to this school. I have to put in there, but at least I can let the school know that I've done that. Birthday, citizenship, race, ethnicity. The reason I have these three is because all this data that the applicant puts into Populi, once the school accepts them, will automatically go to the profile, and then you can pull reports on that. And that's just great, especially for our iPEDS reporting tools. Things like birthday, citizenship, and race, ethnicity come in pretty handy. You'll notice that this race, ethnicity is not just anyone's definition of race, ethnicity. This is the federal government's definition of race, ethnicity. So this really is for the iPEDS reporting. Notice how the applicant, they don't have to click save. Populi's been auto-saving the things they've entered as they've gone along. So we don't rely on the applicant to remember to click save. And if they suddenly get their internet cut or whatever, they'll be good to go, and they'll be able to go back to their application. Reference forms can be completely online. The admissions team will put a reference form behind here. I'll show you how to do that in a sec. And on the applicant's point of view, they don't see the reference form. They just put in their email address, maybe a note, hit send, and then it sends whatever reference form you put behind this field to that email address. The person at that email address fills it out, hits submit, and it goes all the way back to the admissions team. So all done online, no emailing people around or sending things in the mail. Really great. Populi kind of takes care of that for you. And I just did professional reference, but you could also do a personal reference, a pastoral reference, or whatever you want. And we could have multiples of those on this application. You can have them choose the degree they want, maybe their specialization, like a major. And then finally, if you connect us to your credit card merchant, you can set up the application fee. Once application gets started, it immediately gets onto your applications table. And so we can see that right here. Here's Brigida. And one handy thing about all tables in Populi, whether you're in admissions or academics or anywhere, is you can filter this list down. Once you've filtered it down, you can save that filter, and then you can communicate with these people, or you can export these people to a spreadsheet. So for example, I won't do it, but I'll just use your imagination. I could say, show me everybody who is 90% completed or better. What am I trying to get at? I'm trying to get at who's almost done with their application. And they need kind of just a little nudge to finish that application up. And I could also say, show me applicants who haven't had any activity for the last 5 days. I could do both those things to say, show me the people who need a little bit of a nudge to get done with their application and they quit for some reason. They haven't worked on it for almost a week. I could create that filter, save it, and from there, do that communication. Email them, text them, and say, hey, looks like you're almost done. What can I help you do to finish up? Or I could get that out to a spreadsheet, and on the way out, I could add whatever other data columns I want to add. All right, that's kind of a side note because you can do that kind of stuff all over academics, financial. That's just a Populi thing. We've got communication and reporting just built in everywhere. But I think it is helpful for your admissions folks to know that. So let's go to Brigida. Okay, when application first comes in, Populi does not automatically attach that application to a person. It requires a pair of human eyes to look it over and make sure it looks good. So right now we just have an application with no profile associated with it. And so we can look down here, and Populi even puts it in red. Brigida Schooland is not linked to a person in Populi. So we got a couple options. We can add Brigida as a new person, or if I know that Brigida Schooland used to have a different name and she just changed her name recently, I could search for that person and merge them. There's also a third option that sometimes shows up. And if there was another Brigida Schooland in the system or someone with the same email address, someone who Populi thought could be the same person, Populi will offer that and say, are these the same people? Do you want me to merge them? Right now, I haven't actually used Brigida as an example. And so that third option is not up. So I'll just go with add her as a new person. Hit save. I'll just refresh. And now here we go. We got a profile. So this application has been added to a person. Right now, her status is in progress. Once she clicks submit at the bottom, it'll be changed to submitted. I can then look over each field. Notice how the first one has no response, but the next one, oh, I can see the box is checked. No response. Oh, citizenship was filled out. Now, because it's still in progress, Brigida could change any one of these. So this isn't maybe necessarily the final answer, but I can just watch as she goes and see what's being filled out. Or if she calls me for help, I can help her by answering certain things and seeing what she's filled out. Now, once she's submitted it, I can then look over all those fields and accept it. I could decline it. I could send it back to in progress and reject individual fields and even leave a note there and say, actually, this is a 100-word essay, not a 500-word essay. Can you please write this again? Or I could mark her withdrawn if she's just not communicating with me anymore. There's a couple other options here, but let's continue on with the idea of the life cycle of the student. Let's go accepted. And then Populi will prompt me and say, oh, well, if she's accepted, should we add a student role? I'll say, yeah, because what the student role does is it carves out a section for her academic record. And since she's got that section set out for her academic record, well, then should we also import course of study? Course of study is the program, the degree, the major, the entrance term, stuff like that, that she's been filling out along the way. Do we want to just import that and add it to the academic record so that the academic team doesn't have to re-enter that manually? And finally, we can create a user account. So here I can click that and say, yep, username looks good, hit save, and she'll be invited to log into Populi and register for courses. Or if I want, I can wait to do that later. Either way, when I click save, this is the passing of the baton from the admissions team to the academic team. All right, so this is where we're trying to get to, and let's see how to set it up. We already went over roles. Now I'm going to go through step by step all the setup features, and these are all leading up to building your application. So hang on with me here. We're going to kind of get into the details, into the weeds, and then you'll see how it all comes together in just a sec. We're going to start with custom fields. Every department has custom fields that they can use, and admissions has its own custom fields too. You never want to add a custom field that's already in Populi. For example, Populi already has a phone number field, already has an address field, already has some of those fields I showed you for the iPad stuff, birthday, citizenship, race, ethnicity. We already have that stuff. So don't put this in here as a duplicate field, or else it will confuse folks when they're trying to add information in. When I add the field, I'm going to choose the input. I can do text. Text is like just a small little window of text. Maybe it's just for a few words. Select and radio are both multiple choice, except they have just a little bit different look, but really they end up doing the same thing. It just depends on how you want it to look. Checkbox is sort of like check all that apply. You could have 10 options and be able to check 3 of them. Date only allows you to put in a date. Date time only allows you to put in a date and a time. Integer only allows you to put in whole numbers. Decimal allows you to put in decimals. File lets you upload 1 file, and that's it. Text area is just like text, except it's a bigger block. It's more like an essay instead of just a few words. And then multiple files is just like file, except instead of limiting you to 1 file, you can put 1 or more, as many as you want. So here, let's say I'm working with an outside entity to help recruit leads, and I want to keep track of the agent that helped these people come in. And so here I've got a select box. It's going to be agent is the name of the field, and I've got 3 different agents here. And if I go to, well, since we got Brigitte already in the system, let's go to Brigitte. I can go to her admissions and add that custom field, agent Bob Smith, or whatever other custom field I've created. So that's where it's going to come out on the other end. The reason I'm telling you this all leads up to the application is because when we get to the application, you'll see that you can put fields in the application, either system fields or custom fields, that you can have the application directly populate. So you can have the lead fill it out and it will go to their profile once you accept them. Next up is lead sources. There are 2 levels here. This is just for your reporting purposes to keep track of where your leads are coming from, so you can see which sources have a higher conversion rate than others. And we first have source types, which is the higher level. And this is more general things like conference, internet, referral. And then we have specific sources. By the way, to add a source type, I just click add and give it a name. And then we have more specific sources that are underneath the types. So we have a type conference here that corresponds to this type here. But here I'm getting more specific. The ABC conference, the ARC conference, or maybe it's referral, the alumni referral, the family referral, the friend referral. So when I add a source here, a specific one, it's the same thing. I give it a name, except I also need to pick the general type that it's associated with. This just gives you a reporting, 2 different levels. So I could do a report based on referrals, or I could do a report based on conferences, or I could dig a little deeper and say, I want to look at a report on family referrals versus alumni referrals, or this conference versus this conference. Next up is lead routing. So what this does is it allows you, first it lists all of your staff who have one of the admissions roles. It's just going to list them all here. And it's okay if they're here or not, it doesn't matter, but it just allows you to make some edits to them if you want. So here you can check boxes to allow Andy Admissions, because I chose this on Andy Admissions, to automatically be assigned as a representative to new inquiries and or applications. So I could say, I want Andy to be connected to inquiries. And I could go on down. I could do this for Andy, Anna, Christian, and then it would take turns through them. Or I could even get more specific and say, actually, I want Andy to get any lead sources from a conference. And I could even do multiples. Or I could say, I want Andy to field all my undergrad applications. I just want him to get all the undergrad applications. By the way, I get this question asked a lot. Before, you probably know that Populi would just take turns on the lead routing. And now you can get a little more in depth where you could create a very specific application form. So all undergrads go to one person and all your grads go to another person. And instead of taking turns, it's actually distributing them according to the application or according to the lead source. So some cool features we added to this one recently. All right, if you have all of these set to no, then any new inquiry or application that comes into your website is just going to land in here, and you're going to go in there and you're going to manually add the representative. Next up is inquiries. Inquiry forms are just like admissions forms where I can copy and paste this and give it to my webmaster so they can embed it into our website. I can also have this connected to a source or to a program or both. And so, for example, if I had this on this linked to my main website, then I could put that there. And then I know that anyone who comes through this iframe that I will copy and paste is going to automatically get associated with the lead source main website because I put this one on our main website. Maybe you put another one on your president's blog. And so I could have a different embed code with the source president's blog. Same thing with program. Maybe I've got this on the undergrad section of my website. And then I copy and paste that and give this one to my webmaster. And then I do the grad section of my website and I copy and paste this one and tell them, okay, this one is the grad section. I haven't really showed you, but if you look down here, you can see program equals 25. If I change the undergrad, program equals 19. So what I'm doing is I'm actually changing the embed code, or Populi is automatically changing the embed code for me when I mess around with these little drop downs. This is what the inquiry form looks like. It's much more bare bones in our application. We'll get to our application here in a sec. There's not a lot of customization for the inquiry form. It's just a way to get some basic information from the lead who's trying to inquire. Name, phone number, email, and message are the basic fields that are included in every inquiry form. And then there's 3 that you can turn on or off. One is this opt-in for their phone number to use for text messaging. So the opt-in to use for text messaging. Another is address. I can turn that one on or off. And I can turn the course of study that they're interested in on or off. By the way, I didn't mention this before, but anytime you see course of study information, this is pulling from what the academic team has set up. So the admissions team doesn't need to re-enter this or whatever. It's pulling from actual data, and then that will get automatically pushed to their record if you import course of study information. Notice before, it's only letting me choose the Bachelor of Science because the embed code I used for this was undergrad. So it's only showing my undergrad degrees. Here are those settings. I can turn address fields on or off, turn text messaging on or off, and turn course of study inputs on or off. I can do custom CSS. I can do an inquiry message once it's been submitted, and I can do a form redirect. If you're really into Google Analytics and stuff, then you can track your conversions by putting a redirect in here, or you can just redirect them back to your website. All right, other settings, I'm gonna fly over these. Let's go to, oh, maybe I'll stop on this. Remember before I said that you can have Populi automatically mark leads as enrolled? This is where that setting is to turn that on. There's a setting to not do it, so you have to do it manually. There's a setting that will do it if they just enroll on any term. And then there's a setting that only switches if they enrolled in their target term. So if they said, I'm coming in the fall, and then they didn't end up registering in the fall, but they ended up registering in the spring, because there's a discrepancy that Populi isn't sure if you want to look into, it's not going to automatically move them off of your leads list, even though they registered in the spring, because it's different than what they said they were going to do. Or you could say, yeah, I don't care if it's different. It's just any term. If they say they're coming in the fall and don't register to the spring, well, then in the spring, take them off my list. And you'll still be able to see all the historic data for that. When I say take them off my list, I just mean it's not going to be up front and center. It's not going to be the thing that Populi is pushing towards you to get work done on. You can also do this with marking leads inactive. Same three options. And what this does is by default, whenever I look at my leads, Populi is going to show me all my active ones. They're the ones with a checkbox here. And once they enroll, you can have them automatically be marked as inactive so that by default, they're not going to show on this list. Although I can definitely cut out that condition and apply filter, or even just choose the condition, show me all active equals no to look at my old ones. And if I apply filter, then that will pull those up. So you're not losing the data. It's just that you're not getting it in your face by default. Whenever you're looking at this, you're trying to focus on the active ones. That's just Populi trying to be helpful. Okay, finally, online reference forms. So these are the forms you can set up. Just hit add an online reference form, give it a name. Once you do, it will land on this list, and you can open it up and ask of the reference their name, their phone number, tell us about yourself, add some more headings, add some more text, add another field, decide what you want, how you want this field to work, whether it's just a text answer, some choose from a list kind of a thing, yes or no, a certain date, an address, they have to upload a file, whatever you want. You build out this form, and then that will tie into the application. All right, let's bring it all together. And we're going to add an application form. I will call it your school's application. Remember that the applicant sees this, so I'm just goofing off. You might not want to goof off by saying your school's application when you create yours, because then the applicant is going to be like, that's kind of a funny name for the application. But I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and here we go. Notice if I go back here, it's on my list now, and it wasn't there before. If I want to delete it, I can click delete application form right here. All right, let's see, where did I go? I want to go your school's application right here. And I can just start adding stuff. I can say, I'm going to add a heading, contact information, save. Below that, I'll add some text. Fill out the info below, ... I could put a file here too that they can download if I want. And I could put more headings throughout. I could put more text throughout. If I put these in the wrong order, I can move them around if I need to. I could add a field. So we'll call this field your birth date. And I could do a description for here. Please enter your date of birth. Now there's two different ways I can do this. Most of the time you're going to want to link to an existing field. What does that mean? That means that when you accept the application, Populi will automatically populate their profile with this particular field. So if I choose yes, then I can choose which field this answer is going to go into. This one's pretty straightforward. I just want it to populate my birth date field. And that's it. If I chose no and said, I'm just building my own fields here, I'm going to choose a date, and they just put in a date. That's fine, but it's not going to populate the birth date field if you do it this way. And then the birth date field won't be in your IPEDS reporting. It won't be populated. And any other reports you want to do, it won't be populated. This is just a date. Populi doesn't sense the word birth date. It just knows you want a date, and it's just going to live in the application as a historic application field, but it's not going to link to anything on the profile. So most of the time, to save yourself some time and help for reporting later, you're going to link to an existing field and choose which one you want to link to. And we'll say this field is required, and I'll hit save on that one. And I can keep on adding fields like this. Let's say I have more of a question. Why did you choose our school? Please write less than 500 words. I don't know, something like that. Now this one, I wouldn't really link to an existing field because I'm not going to pull reports on it later, right? This is just something that's going to help me process this particular application. So this time I'll just say, no, I don't want to link to an existing field. So then I'm going to create my own answer type, and it's not going to be a number. It's not going to be choose from a list. I just want them to write 500 words. So I'm going to choose text, and I could do short answer or essay, and let's do essay. By the way, there is another option I could do. I could say file upload. And instead of saying, please type in your 500 words, upload an essay. But instead, I'm going to do the text. We'll do essay, hit save. There we go. And I can keep on adding these. Here's a couple more that are a little bit unique. So I showed you yes, link to an existing field. This one's no, because it's just going to live in the application. There's a couple more. I showed you those references. Let's say I want to do a professional reference. And then I could do a field description. Please enter whatever you want. Please enter an email address or for this reference. I'm not going to do that now to save time. References, you don't link to existing fields. You choose no, and you can choose down here, online reference. And Populi will list all the online references you've created so far. I only have one, so I only have one option here, and I'm going to match that up. And we'll make that one required too. Hit save. And then the final thing on the application is I could choose things like degree or major. And these, even though you might think link to an existing field, these don't actually either. It's a little bit counterintuitive on this one. So that's why I'm showing it to you. But if you want them to fill out their degree and or major, or specialization is what we call it in Populi, because some people call it major, minor, emphasis, concentration, whatever. If you want it to populate their academic record, you're going to leave this as a no, and then choose from this list. And it's actually hidden in here. Choose from a list, and we're going to choose degree. And so then later, when they fill that out, it's going to be matched up with my academic degrees. And I could add another heading below this. I could add more text and so on. So you get the idea. And like I said before, I can move these around. Now, if I want to get a quick preview of what the applicant will see, I can click preview, and this is what it's going to look like. Go back to design, and there we are. I can also do some quick adds. I can edit a field. I can delete it. I can do a quick add where I add a field below or a heading below or text. You've probably seen the import field. It's just like add a field, except you're grabbing a field you already made on another application. So it's a little bit of a time saver. All right, when I'm done with this, then I'm going to want to move into my overarching settings here. Do I want to show this online? Yes or no? I don't get my embed code until I switch this to yes. So you don't want to do this until you're done and it's ready to go live. And then I can say yes and hit save. And now look, here's my embed code. So I can put this on my website now. Do I want that first form to ask them to opt into text messaging, yes or no? Notice how you click on the name of these to be able to edit it. So hopefully that wasn't hidden from you. Do I want to require address, yes or no on that initial form? Do I want them to choose from a bunch of programs on this one form? which doesn't really make sense because you're probably you're going to have a different application for graduate and different for undergraduate, and probably different for continuing ed. But you can have them choose from a program on application if you want, or you could say, no, this is just my undergrad application, so it just goes there. Do I want them to be able to choose when their entrance term is going to be? And you're going to update these every year. So maybe I only want them to have 2 options and that's it. And I'll update those each year, just delete the old one out and put a new one in. And so on. Or I could say, no, it just defaults to the next term. So it doesn't even ask them. It just assumes that they want to show up as soon as they possibly can, whether it's fall, summer, spring, whatever. Or I could say it defaults just to next fall if that's the only time I take in new students. Same with enrollment. I can choose those or have a default, which would just be full-time. Do I want them to allow them to choose undecided when they're choosing programs? Yes or no? Maybe I'm a school that doesn't allow that. We don't really have an undecided option. We want them to choose their course of study right away. Do I want an application fee? If you've connected us to your credit card merchant and talked to your finance team about setting up an application fee for you, you can pull that in here. It will give the default amount that the billing team set up for you, or you can change that here. And I can require the payment at the very beginning before they even get to see my application. Or I can say, no, I just require at the end. So before they're allowed to submit it, they have to pay the application fee. I could choose a redirect. I could choose an initial email. This is our default. I can have no initial email if I want, or I can customize it. Most people just leave it on the default. And then finally, here's that embed code. So that's walking you through everything on the application. Next up are a couple fun things that anyone at your school can use, but I think admissions teams particularly enjoy using them. And that is, oh, actually, before I do that, I didn't show you the inquiry forms as they come in. So when inquiry forms come in, so remember here, I didn't tell you the difference, so maybe this will help. Leads are people. They're just people you're working with. Inquiries are all the inquiry forms that those people might have opened. And so maybe a person like Joseph Schooland here opened 2 inquiry forms. And I'm working through both of them. One I've already closed, and one of them he's still waiting on an answer from me. And applications are also just all the application forms that people have opened. So maybe an applicant is trying to apply for 2 different programs that require 2 different applications at your school. And so they're on here twice. So leads, you just have one person, unless you have a duplicate issue where you can we can merge those. But it's just one person on the list, and then inquiries are the forms associated with those people. Applications are the forms associated with those people. When it comes to inquiry form, I can see, let's go back to Chris. So Chris says he fills out that, remember that message box on the application form? He says, hello, I'm wondering about ... Thanks, Chris. That gets sent to me, and then I can process it in here. Here I've already given him an answer. Here are your answers, and I have a question. And by default, this is going to be a public comment, which means they'll be notified via email. It's not public in the sense that everybody in the world sees it. It's public as in it's going back to Chris. Or I can say, I actually need to do some research on this. So first piece of research, I've got first answer. They asked a question about, I don't know, when our school was founded, and I'm new and I don't remember. And so I went up and found out that it's founded in 1954. And then I need to answer some more questions, but I wanted to enter this in real quick. And so they're waiting for our response. And so I hit submit. And this is just an internal comment I've got. And then I've got, oh yeah. And then they also asked when our current president joined the school. And that was 5 years ago in 2015. And again, I'm gonna do that privately for myself. And then when I'm ready, I can put it all together and say, okay, hey, Chris, depending on how formal or informal you wanna be. Here are your answers, and I can type in the data I found. And then I can switch to say, oh, and then maybe I can say, and I have a question. I can now switch it to waiting for them to respond. So the ball's in their court, and I can hit submit. Or I can say, well, done, closed it. Don't need to worry about this one anymore. So inquiry forms are all handled inside Populi here. Okay, I got sidetracked. I wanted to show you communication plans. Let me show you what they look like when they're done. We'll go to Simon Student. You can add these to anybody, not just applicants. So this is Simon Student. He's been a student for a while, so I'm using him as an example. I'm going to go ahead and delete the one he's already got on here. And so here, he has an activity feed. And again, everybody can use this, not just admissions. But here, every note I put in, called Simon ... is going to get thrown on my activity feed. Every email I send from anywhere in the system, remember I showed you those fast ways to communicate through email. Those will get sent out. Any that get sent from anywhere in the system will land here. Here's that email I got sent earlier. Any text message will get sent here. Any letters I generate for Simon will get sent here. Any files I upload right here, and any to-dos I check off. Here's a couple to-dos checked off. And it records the date and time when that action was completed and who completed the action. You can even show changes on Simon just to keep up. Someone add a web transcript, probably because Simon requested a transcript. And it's all date and time and who did that change. Your visibility options are here. My visibility options are for all staff. So anything I leave in here, all the staff are going to see it. I could get more specific and say, no, I just want the financial folks to see this one because it's a little more sensitive. You can change your default visibility up here under your account and settings. Okay, so that's how the activity feed works, and I can add one-off to-dos, or I can add that communication plan. You keep on thinking, wow, when's it get to the communication plan? Okay, I'm here. I'm done with my backstory. New inquiry. We'll pretend Simon's a new inquiry, and I could either assign him to myself or to somebody else. I want to assign him to Andy, and I can give it a start date. I could start it today or a week into the future or whenever. And I hit apply. Notice how there's nothing over here on the side. Hit apply, and it just populates this workflow for me. So first off, we're going to see new inquiry. Oh, sorry. First off, let me refresh. First off, it sent Simon an email and populated his name in here and Andy's name. It actually sent it from Andy, even though I'm the one who put it in here. Maybe I'm Andy's boss and I want Andy to take care of this. But day one, email gets sent. Day two, Andy's got to make a introductory call and send a welcome packet. That's tomorrow. Day, I don't know what this is, 7 or something, 9 or something. He has to call and make sure it was received. Setting those up happens over here in communications and communication plans. Day one at 10 a.m. It's past 10 a.m. right now. So that's why that got automatically sent. We've got variables. So that's why I put Simon's name here. And that's why I put Andy's name in there, not my name. Day two were those other to-dos, and day 9 was that other one. And I can also add letters. Day 15, not 151. Day 15, the sender, let's say the recipient, is sent a letter. And I can create a new letter on the fly, or I can pull from one of my letter templates. And I can insert variables like first name. And I can save this as a template if I'm doing it on the fly. Letters are a little different. What letters do, because us here at Populi, we don't print your letters or print your envelopes. We just instead send the letters to your queued documents. So on that day, you'll find some stuff in your queued documents that you can then print, and you can even print on labels for envelopes and so on. So this is how you're going to build out that communication plan. So what's it for? It's just for a series, a certain workflow. If you have so many to-dos you do with every single applicant who comes in for a certain application, put them all in here. And then you just, with one click, add all those to-dos as a communication plan. If you have a series of communication that you always do, then with one click, you can add those emails to go out over those certain days. That's how admissions would use it. But remember, if you're doing multiple departments, if you're also in academics, you could do it for your student government team, for certain to-dos that they have to do. In fact, I could say instead of the sender, who would be me or Andy, I could say the recipient gets this to do. So my student gets that to do because they're in student government, and so I task them with certain things. Or maybe it's for financial aid. The student gets tasked with certain to-dos so they know what they have to do next. Or maybe it's donations. My administrative assistant gets so many to-dos, or the donor gets an email. So those are all the applications, but admissions is particularly handy on that one. All right, I think I have covered everything as far as overview, and I'm getting some questions in. So let's go ahead and jump on those. Stephen asked, and I think I saw this one come in, Stephen, I think you asked it just as I was explaining it. Can you add program of study, as in major, to an inquiry form? Yes, you can, but it's only going to be pulling from the actual academic information. So do I have an inquiry form up? Let's see. Yeah, here's one. So course of study. So I, as an admissions person, cannot add any specializations myself. All I can do is turn on course of study, show course of study inputs, and that will automatically pull from whatever my academic team is set up. And right now my academic team only has, actually let's do this one. So here we've got undergrad, continuing ed, or graduate. And so the applicant can choose undergrad. And then they choose their degree. So that was their program. Now they choose their degree. Okay, there's only one option, Bachelor of Science. We don't have any other degrees. And then specialization, which will be your majors, your minors, your emphases, your concentrations. I don't know if it's coming through on the webinar, but this says major, so they can see that there's a major here. So yes, you can add it, but the only thing the admissions team can do is turn that on, hit save settings, and that's it. If it's not working right, you're going to need to talk to your academic team and maybe have them reach out to support to make sure that their majors and minors are actually set up properly so they come through on the admission side properly. Good question, Stephen. Anonymous says, can you explain the add an event button at the bottom of the page? Can you tell me, is this on communications? So communication plans, add an event. There's 3 different types of events, a scheduled email, a to-do, or a letter. So when I add a new event, then I'm just choosing the day when this event happens, who it happens to, the sender, the recipient, or someone specific, like maybe it's just my dean or president, and then what happens, what's the event itself. They get that email, they're assigned that to do, or they're sent this letter. And Anonymous is also asks, oh, I see. So communication plans can't be triggered by an event. It can only be triggered by a certain date. Yes, by default, but that's a great question. And it's good that you ask questions like that, because you can reach out to our support team and you can ask them if they can have a certain event trigger a communication plan to be added to a student, or a certain to-do to be added to a student. So those are all behind the scenes though. You can't do them yourselves. It's a pretty complex tool that we have built. And so really only our support team has access to it. And it's not infinitely customizable. So you really just have to ask them and say, I would love it if every time this happened, I was notified. Or if every time this happened, I was given a to-do 7 days out from when that happened. Or if every time this happened, that person got sent an email. And if you would love something like that to happen, then reach out to our support, spelling out what you want to happen, what the event is, and what you want the trigger to be. And then the support team will see if it's possible, and they'll let you know. And if it is, they'll set it up for you. So good question. It's not a communication plan thing. It's a reach out to support and see if we can do it in kind of our beta automations project that we're working on, and they can set it up for you. Kimberly says, can I add an event for a specific date on the communication plan? Unfortunately, no, Kimberly. You just add a certain date out from when the communication plan was started. You can add a specific time for emails, but that's it. The only place that you can add the date is when you first add the communication plan. So if I go to Simon Student here and I say I want to add a communication plan, oh, sorry, not a to-do, a communication plan, donor communication or new inquiry, I can choose the start date. And so then all those other dates will fall into place, whether it's day 2 or day 9. So if I do October 21st, then anything that's marked day 1 will go out on October 21st. Anything that's marked day 2 will go out on October 22nd. Day 9 would be October 31st, or sorry, 21, October 30th. So it's all pulling off that start date. That's really the only place you can put in a date. Stephen asks, do you have to add a communication plan manually, or as the student moves from stage to stage in the admissions funnel, will the student automatically be assigned the communication plan that applies to the new stage? That's also a great question. And this lines up with Anonymous's question. Can you have certain events create to-dos or communication plans? And the answer is yes, but I need to know, our support team would need to know what event you're specifically talking about, and they would do the research to see if we could set that up for you. One of the automations that we can do is not just so simple as notifications or adding to-dos, but we could do something like, when this happens, when they move from this status to this status, I want you to delete this communication plan from them and add this communication plan to them. So you have to talk with our support team. I know there's some possibilities around that, and I'm not sure how in depth it is or whether it will work with your particular situation, but there's definitely options there. So good question. I don't have any other questions. So if you're typing in a question or you wanted to ask a question, finish typing that up. We've got 3 minutes to the end of the hour. I just get blown away with a bunch of questions. I can hang out a little longer, but if we're coming to the end, then I'll wrap things up. Anonymous asks, I think you may have addressed this, but if a student submits an application for a certain term, gets admitted, but then doesn't enroll or register until the next term, will Populi be able to automatically adjust the term? I actually didn't address that, Anonymous. What I was addressing, just to make sure we're clear, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, was this. This is how it marks them. So depending on what term they enter, will it mark them enrolled as a status or mark them inactive? That's what I was talking about. You're asking, if I understand it correctly, is their entrance term. Let's go to Brigida. Here's Brigida. And she has an entrance term right here. She chose fall 2015. If she ends up enrolling later, I can't remember if it changes it on the admission side or not, but I am pretty sure that it will update on the academic side. So we'll update the entrance term on the academic side to make sure your reporting is right. If I'm saying that wrong, maybe, and it's not happening, reach out to support and see why it's not happening, and maybe I'm wrong on that and they'll have to correct me. But I'm pretty sure that this one will just stay as it is, and then the academic entrance term will update depending on what their actual starting term was. That's me answering it on the fly. Hopefully I'm right on that. Good question. Leslie asks, what functions/tools are available to help with interviewing applicants? It's a good question, Leslie. I think the best things are, there's all kinds of places to put notes. So if I'm talking with an applicant and I want to leave a note under this particular field, because we're talking about that field, I can do that. I can even make it so the applicant can see that note by checking this box and adding the note. I could change the status to rejected if they need to, if it was only a 100-word essay instead of a 500-word essay. I can go to the notes and files under this application and add any notes I want and just type them all out or upload some files here. I can go to the activity feed and fill out information here after I've done an interview, or add to-dos for myself for the future. Really, the tools in Populi for interviewing applicants are just you tracking the information as it comes through and making notes for yourself or maybe some visible to the applicant if you want to do that on the application like I showed you. It's not, we don't have tools to actually help with the interview itself. Like Populi doesn't have a Zoom version where you could do a Zoom interview and have it be recorded. You could record in Zoom and upload the file right here if you wanted. But it's not really going to work with the application or with the interview itself. It's just you schedule the interview, you work with to get that on the calendar, and then you put all your notes and record what happened, maybe follow-up emails, all that kind of stuff in Populi. Anonymous asks, thank you for all your answers. You're welcome, Anonymous. Good questions. This question is similar to my last one, but in regards to a degree program. If a student starts applying for one degree and then changes their minds, will we on the admission side be able to manually change their degree choice in the application, or will they need to start a brand new application? It depends on how you have your program set up. So if you, if they're doing, let's say you have two different programs and the applicant chooses to apply for one, but then they change their mind and you have a totally separate application for that other one. Well, I would guess that you probably want them to use the proper application, and so then you would switch them over to that new application. Let's say instead you only have one application for all your programs, so it's not a big deal, and they just change their mind and want to apply for a different course of study. You can come in here and manually change that if they tell you what they've done, or they can input it themselves if you've put it on the application, and they can change that. And these fields are just on the admission side. And so it's not until you actually accept their application that these fields could possibly get pushed to the academic record. And that's where this import course of study checkbox is. So if I accept them and hit save, then whatever they have is going to automatically go to their academic record, and it's going to stay over there. And I, as an admissions person, don't have access to that and can't change it. So if you've already accepted them and then they change their mind, then they're going to have to, that's kind of handed over to the academic team, and they're going to have to talk with them to change it on that side. But if it's before you accept them and they're still in progress and they're changing it, or they call you up and say, hey, can you change it? You can always change it on the admission side. But once you've kind of passed the baton and created the academic record, you don't have access to that. That's just a time saver to get information into the academic record, so you don't have to email it to the registrar. Good questions, everybody. I enjoyed being with you, and I enjoyed the questions. I'm going to wrap up. We're 3 minutes over the hour, and I hope you guys all are well. So take care, everybody. You're welcome, Anonymous. You're welcome, Joy. I'm glad you guys liked it, and I hope it was helpful. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.